This episode of the Indie Opera Podcast was recorded using Zoom and is available in video on YouTube. We highly encourage you to watch the show there so you can see the visual content. Just go to YouTube and search for the Indie Opera Podcast.
Welcome to the Indie Opera Podcast.
Welcome to the Indie Opera Podcast, back to the closet version. We are out of the studio and back in our individual houses. This is the Survivor edition.
Nice.
And I have with us, who's with us?
Hey, I'm Arnold Geis.
Arnold Geis. And?
Chabrelle Williams.
All right. And?
Brooke, as usual.
Say it again, Brooke. I lost half of your...
You lost me? My
Yeah.
name is Brooke. Hi.
Oh my
Brooke
God.
looks like she's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
This is my living room.
I'm not sure why you're in an art gallery right now.
Hey,
William
to each his own. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. Walker, introduce yourself.
And I'm Walker. Hello.
Okay, so you're going to hear a really weird sound today because we're recording through Zoom because of the COVID-19 virus. 19?
19.
COVID-19.
Too many viruses.
Who cares about numbers anymore?
19
Yeah.
viruses. COVID.
So we're joined by Arnold Geis, who is a Los Angeles-based tenor and performer for film, television, video games, and opera companies around the world, and Soprano Chabrelle Williams, who is an avid arts advocate and three-time district winner of New York Metropolitan Opera National Council Auditions. Woohoo! They were both performing at the Lincoln Center Theater in Lynn, Nottage, and Ricky Ian Gordon's opera Intimate Apparel as Mr. Marks, and alternating as the lead role of Esther in a production directed by Bartlett Sher, which has been suspended because of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Woof.
Is it
Indeed.
Bartlett Sher?
It's sheer.
It's Sheer.
Well, he needs to change the way he spells his name.
Yeah, we'll make sure we'll tell him that.
So now that we're living in the end times, it's really interesting. So so now they canceled your show. Are they postponed it? What's going on with the show?
Arnold, would you like to?
Well, so the last thing that we heard was that production has been suspended until April 13th, but there's been a lot of news since saying that, large gatherings should be postponed for at least 8 weeks. So we don't really know what's happening with the show. But we do know that at this point, it's just postponed until April 13th, and they want us back in New York by April 6th. At least that's what we've heard. So we're on hold. We're still on contract as it is. And the show's really great, so I hope that it's not canceled.
Yeah, I hope it's not canceled.
Sure.
Like people need to see it.
So so you're not staying in New York City. What are you doing, Chabrelle?
I'm flying back to Houston. That's where I live
Oh.
currently, but I'm actually from Philly. But I'm flying back to Houston to be with my husband and my dog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be tomorrow morning.
Those two things are of equal importance, your husband and your dog.
Heck yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah.
And Arnold, what do
Literally,
you?
I've never had pets, Walker.
I got my cat
Yeah,
here.
it's
Oh my
true. I had
gosh.
turtles. Oh,
This
so
is
sweet,
Dimpy.
cat.
He came with me to New York. We're going back to LA tomorrow.
Aww.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So now let's
Wow.
talk a little bit about what happens now for you guys. Are you members of a union that take care of healthcare? What goes on with that? Are you just kicked to the wilds?
Well, they're still paying us our weekly salary at this point, and it's an equity contract. So We are technically working through a union. The Mitzi Newhouse Theater with Lincoln Center Theater. It's an equity house, so we're on a what's called a LORT contract, which means I don't know, something. It means we all get paid the same, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get paid less than you normally would?
Well, an equity contract is, it depends on the house size. So depending on the house size is what your weekly rate will be. It's a 299 seat theater, so it's on the smaller end, but it's off Broadway. It's it's not a bad fee. We're all making a living, doing what we love, and I'm an out of town singer, so they were nice enough to set me up with an apartment here, which is walking distance from Lincoln Center Theater, so that's great.
So are they making you go back to Los Angeles, or do you choose?
No, actually, I'm kind of following a couple work contracts. I'm a session singer, so there's always sessions going on in LA. Okay. And I also have a church style back there that I sing for every Sunday.
Oh, they're probably not having church.
Well, they're doing so. I sing for this TBN network show called Hour of Power, and
oh my God, I know that.
That's right.
Yeah. So
I love that.
I do. They're still doing some live, but they did say next week they don't know what's going to happen. So I think they're doing smaller groups of singers and going from there. But I have my car out there, new apartment, and getting all set up. But it is a crazy time for all of us.
So crazy.
Everything's up in the air,
Yeah. But that's sort of our lives already.
So you normally live in Philly, but you're.
No, so I was born and raised in Philly.
You're from Philly, yeah.
I'm from Philly, but I live in Houston.
Yeah. Okay.
So as of this recording, they have closed and postponed the Metropolitan Opera till what? The end of March.
March.
Yeah, end of March.
I think that will probably
change
longer than that. Yeah.
Yes, and then I know I was going to go down last Sunday to see Blue in Washington, and they completely canceled that.
Yeah.
Because the opening night was supposed to be Sunday.
So it's totally canceled. Like they're not rescheduling it.
That's what it said on the website.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Oh, that sucks. That show is great. It really needs to be seen. Like that sucks. Ugh.
Did Intimate Apparel open? Were you're
No,
running?
we haven't even opened yet. We were running.
We haven't opened. We were doing preview performances, which were actually going really well, and we're well attended.
Yeah.
So some people have seen it already.
Yeah, there were some people that got to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
So now, do you have other contracts coming up further ahead that have already said, like this summer, or are they still planning on doing things this summer for you, or what's going on for both of you?
For me, I plan to go on back to LA after this contract was up in May, and as far as I know, everything's still happening this summer. That might change, but it's up in the air. I haven't heard anything different. So.
Right.
Okay.
And for me, I didn't really have that many summer plans, but I was probably going to go back to Houston and run some art creative workshops or camps for Houston Grand Opera as a teaching artist, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of school programs going on. I know I'm involved with the Brooklyn Music School, and we're just in the middle of enrollment, so I don't know what's going to happen with that either. Walker, do you have any productions coming up that have gotten?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in the middle of the Opera Lab at NYU with AOP,
right.
and that's just been interrupted completely. So I'm not. We're supposed to have a rehearsal tomorrow night. That's not going to happen. So,
it's like nobody knows. Everybody's waiting for.
Everybody's waiting.
Well, some people say it's going to be 4 weeks. Some people say 6. Some people say 8 weeks. Some people it's just like. It's crazy,
So now
I also have 2 kids, so we're trying to figure out, we're basically just keeping our kids home for that time.
Right. That's hard.
So now Opera America has put out some list of resources. I'm going to put it on our website. There are different resources where people can get help. And so I'll post that there. Yes, and they also have sent out a thing about paid leave and how it affects nonprofits. So I'm going to put that on our website so that refundable payroll tax credits are going to be required for emergency paid leave provided by employers with fewer than 500 employers. Nonprofits are eligible for relief. Nonprofits are eligible for relief, which
as they should be.
I did not know, which I think is really wonderful. So now as far as like survival goes, there's no food in the shelves. Manhattan, it's kind of crazy. I know my sister in New Hampshire, she's trying to get food for her family. What's up uptown, Brooke and Walker? How's it going for you guys?
Yeah, it's empty, a lot of it.
I was working from home last Monday, and I was sort of like, you know what, shit's gonna go down. And so I was like, I don't have enough toilet paper. And so I went and I live in a neighborhood where, but I really didn't. And I was like, I really don't have enough toilet paper.
Everybody is buying toilet paper.
Weeks. And so I went to the store on Monday before my neighborhood started freaking out. And so like some areas were freaking out at that point, but my neighborhood, I live in the Bronx right by the zoo. They were operating as if nothing was happening. And so I was like, I'm working from home. I'm going to take this moment to go buy a bunch of rice and a couple things of toilet paper and some other things that I can keep in my fridge. And so I got most of what I needed. And then I went on Thursday when my office closed indefinitely. I went home and I went back to the grocery store, and it was a total madhouse. And I bought like
more toilet paper.
Stuff. Yeah, I actually did buy more toilet paper.
I bought. Look, you know that toilet paper won't. Toilet paper won't stop the virus, right?
No, I know, but it will be necessary if I'm trapped in my house by myself for weeks on end.
Okay. Are you sitting on toilet paper right now?
No.
Sitting on
I didn't buy. I bought enough to get me through like 3 weeks. Like that's how much toilet paper I now have in my house. But especially because I can't go anywhere. Like I can't use any other toilets. Like this is the only toilet I'm using for now until forever. So but I bought things like flour and eggs and like, things so I could cook food. And I actually also like had randomly a gift card for like HelloFresh, so I signed up for their meal delivery.
Oh, nice.
Well, if ever there was a time, now
was a good time.
Saved it.
Yeah, that was the time.
So so that I was lucky in that I was in a neighborhood that people were not buying everything off the shelf. I'm sure now, although today I went for a run and I saw two men hugging. I saw another man chewing on his hand. People were at the fruit stand like queued up as if nothing was wrong, and I was like, I don't know what you people are doing.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Sort of, I have an opinion on that actually. I mean, honestly, like everything that's coming out, in the media, like literally hour after hour, something new and scary is happening.
I know.
But my thought is we need to live our lives. So as long as the people who are ill are taking care of themselves and the people who are not ill are being more careful when they're out and about, we don't need to be panicking like this. We don't need to be buying mountains of toilet paper for our houses. Those of us who are like, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Walker's like,
I need 5 dozen rolls, damn it.
But so like I know it's weird, like that places are a ghost town, but you still people just living their best lives. I feel like now is the time. Like we can't just all be shut in our homes. And
I agree.
And live in fear. But like obviously the virus is a threat, but let's get some factual information about it, read about it, educate ourselves, and then let's move past it and like accept it and live with it.
Yeah, I've decided to just not hang out with people that are sick or elderly or any of that, and just stick with people that are my own age group and
and to take
healthy.
care of yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because in you taking care of yourself, you're taking care of others. We all live here.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. People in my neighborhood are just pretty like business as usual. Just walking around, like I don't know, but it does make me nervous when I go. I went into CVS. I was just kind of paranoid. Like some guy like walked very close to me, and I was just like, whoa. I mean, like I don't know. You don't need to be that paranoid, But
Right.
I had on one glove, one latex glove, so I could like touch things, and then the other hand not with a glove, so I could like take a credit card out of my wallet.
Right. That's good.
Probably went overboard a little bit, but
it's like this is ridiculous.
Because it's actually kind of complicated to like remember what you touch and what you don't touch. So in the end, it just got all screwed up. It was
it gets screwed up anyway.
Just keep washing your hands.
Yeah, just wash your hands.
Right. Well, the thing that's happening in Italy is deeply alarming. And so like the fact that they were sort of blasé about it, and then they had to shut down the entire country and nobody can go anywhere and people are getting really sick and dying. Like there is an element of like, I mean, Americans tend to be sort of cowboys about this kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I think like, obviously go outside, obviously don't hoard things. And I did buy toilet paper, but I didn't buy that much toilet paper. There's cars of ladies at Costco with like mountains of toilet. I didn't do that. But like I think like if you don't have to go anywhere, you do sort of have a responsibility to not go anywhere, because we are just like walking comets of germs. So like even if I am sick, if I brush by somebody who might be, then I'm carrying those germs with me wherever I go. And that's sort of, it is that communicable according to, and New York Times and the CDC, like it is. So like what's happening in Italy, I'm looking at what's happening in Italy, and that is deeply concerning.
And like, there's so many things.
Especially when I see people walking around and just like acting like nothing's happening.
Right.
Without any regard to their own personal. And a lot of the people in my neighborhood are elderly and maybe don't have a lot of access to healthcare, because it's not, it's a pretty like working class, lower class neighborhood that I live in, and a very vibrant community, but like I think a lot of my neighbors don't have health insurance. I'm very worried that my elderly neighbors in my building who are in their 80s are going to be very sick. I'm the president of my co-op, so I feel personally responsible for the well-being of the people in my building, most of whom have at least 50 years on me. So, so it's like, there's that.
But you're in a completely different situation, but sorry.
Well, no, but let's talk a little reasonably about things. So the issue for a lot of people are they're losing their jobs. And the way healthcare is run in the United States is we get our healthcare through our jobs, which is a big problem. And because of that, when you lose your job, you then have to start paying for healthcare. Well, all of these healthcare companies aren't going to make it necessarily. So it's sort of interesting thinking about how are the doctors going to get paid, and what's going to happen with all of that. Anyway, so I just also want to put let's think a little more positively. Yeah. So let's talk about what opera people and people who perform opera and love opera can do to stay in touch with each other as a community, and also to stay in touch with the art form in general. I saw that David Salazar from Opera Wire published a really cool article about a few options that people can use to see operas. The Metropolitan Opera has a nightly stream that you can watch, as well as the Vienna State Opera has a daily stream. The Rossini Festival has a stream, as well as several other companies. I'm going to post that to our website so you can click and find them.
Pacific Opera Project from Los Angeles also has all their operas on YouTube.
Nice. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and Opera Vision. Was that on the list? Opera Vision is a streaming service from Europe that has like full operas on it. It's really good.
And I know that some companies are taking advantage of this to do streamed performances. I do know that the New York Festival of Song is live streaming a recital yesterday. We are recording this on the 15th? Is that today or 16th? I don't even know what day it is. How embarrassing. It's the
Today's
16th.
Today is March 16th, yes.
So they did a live stream. So maybe some companies can do some live streaming as well. So I wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. I think it's a great opportunity for us as artists and creators to create more, you know. I think we have a lot of time to just make music. And I have a plan of just getting some recordings done and maybe some original music I've been working on and just finally getting it, you know, getting these demos out and you know, maybe making an album or something like that.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Look at you.
Yeah.
No, but about the same. Yeah, no, when I go back to
True.
Houston, I'm going to definitely make some demos. And, but also, I think this is also a time for many people to sort of be introspective as well. So I'm going to do some writing. I'm going to do things other than what my job is. I'm probably going to focus on some writing or focus on, you know, taking in cinema that I haven't seen because I'm as a cinephile. I love watching movies, but I haven't had a lot of time to do that with our schedule. So, you know, we're going to work, but we also need to take care of ourselves mentally and not only physically, but also mentally and spiritually.
Have you ever checked out the Criterion collection?
No.
Check it out. It's a really amazing streaming service that shows a lot of like international films and classic films and like really like the best of the best.
What was it again?
It's called the Criterion Collection.
Criterion
Collection. And I don't know how much it is. Maybe they're giving people a deal right now, but it's like really, really good. So.
I also know that if you are a member of Opera America, and anyone can be a member of Opera America as an individual, they give you access to Naxos. Naxos has a huge video library of operas. I mean, there's hundreds of them. So if you want to sort of start checking out operas maybe you've never seen before, that's another good way to do it.
There's also YouTube, which is always
YouTube has
source.
Tons,
Like,
and you don't have to just look up opera. You can look up art song, oratorio, just classical music in general.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Thank God for streaming services.
Heck yeah.
Totally.
And FaceTime. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
I live alone, so.
Yeah, FaceTime is your friend. Yeah.
Yes.
Your friend of your friend.
Yeah. Your friend of a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm also doing things like cleaning out my closets and like stuff that like all these chores and stuff that you just don't really have time to do. It's not like an urgent priority, but it's like, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be here.
Might as well clean the closet.
Right.
I was thinking about getting something done, like maybe my taxes. I don't know. Maybe I can get time this year.
So I've also considered during this time maybe I'll probably release this podcast early.
Okay.
And maybe we can do more of them. I want to sort of try and let the Indie Opera podcast community have a chance to maybe get on the show. If we're going to do things on Zoom, we might.
Yeah.
So
if
people are interested on chatting with us exactly like you're seeing it right now,
right?
You should email us at comments@indieopera.com. And
wait, so when you release this, people won't be able to actually see the video, will they?
We are
recording the video.
We are going to take this video and we are going to put it on our YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel, you know.
Okay, right.
And Chuck, who is not in the booth today, has a bunch of interviews there. I actually have another one to add later this week for a production that might not happen.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And we'll just add this to that channel there so you can actually see us. You can go to our website and we'll have a link to it, or you can search for us on YouTube and we'll put this on there and you'll get to see our funny living room.
Lovely faces.
You're in a fancy house.
It's not that fancy.
It looks pretty fancy.
Pretty
The
fancy.
wall right behind you.
Right.
Well, we definitely were creative with the color.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
those
I like it.
colors,
I like it.
Yellow and green. That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm not naturally yellow, but
You are now.
You
I look
are
like a
now.
Simpson or something.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool to actually see you all, and also like the subway going behind Walker as he speaks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good feature. Yeah. It's like
and
it's like seeing West Side Story on Broadway. Kind of.
did anyone
You've
go
seen
see that?
I did.
I really
did.
wanted
Not yet.
to.
I want to.
Oh, how was it?
I think
It got mixed reviews. I read that it got mixed reviews. So
I actually love the director, Ivo van Hove. I think he's incredible, and his what was it, View from the Bridge?
That was the greatest show.
That was one of the best play performances I've ever seen. This one didn't quite work. I think because of the video. The video was just too overwhelming. You know, it's like they had this huge empty stage, and then like a movie theater size screen in the back, and sometimes actors were doing stuff on the stage, and then their video selves were behind them, you know, like 30 foot tall, and you know, how are you going to watch the live person who's like that big, you know, on the stage when you can see something that big?
Right.
So it's just very jarring. It just sort of
Right.
takes you out of it. And then other times there are these sort of mysterious like video of a street, like an urban street or a subway. And I mean, it kind of added in a general way. And then other times, like the only part of the show which is actually a set is actually behind the rear wall of the theater. So and when they go in there, you can't even see them live. Like you might be able to see them a little bit, but sometimes they just disappear completely. So then you're basically just watching a movie of them, and it's and I just felt like the act, but they're still acting in a style that's like musical theater.
Sure.
But now they're in like a hyper realistic film. So it doesn't. It's like it's like very jarring. It doesn't really allow you to empathize with the characters and really get into that tragic, you know, really that powerful story, which is such a moving, powerful story. And it's just a shame. So I mean, for me, I ended up kind of just not really connecting with any of them, even though I think the performers were really good. I thought they did a really good job. It was just all too experimental. I mean, it was experimental theater director and an experimental choreographer. So they're going to do something pretty. They're going
to do some
experimental.
Experimental. They succeeded.
So Brooke, did you actually see anything, or have we?
Let's see. Well, I was going to go to the Big Ears Festival in Tennessee, in Knoxville, Tennessee, which if people are not aware of this festival, it's amazing. It's like all of the contemporary music people, all of the best players playing all of the best music and like the new music scene. It is so great. And I was going to go and they canceled it, obviously. So that is a bummer. I'm hoping they reschedule because it's such an amazing lineup. You should definitely, everybody check out their website because their programming is extraordinary. I saw, what did I see? Flying Dutchman.
At the Met?
On Tuesday, last Tuesday, was maybe ill-advised, but I already had tickets. So I went actually with Ricky. Peter, you remember Ricky?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, Ricky Kuban?
and Gordon?
No.
Yeah, no.
Not Ricky and Gordon.
Not Ricky.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
Peter's and my mutual friend, Ricky Torres Kuban, who is a former singer, now civil engineer, but a good friend. And he was in town, so he went with me. But anyway, so we went to see it. You know, yeah, right. Dutchman's a weird opera. Because it's still like convention, like Wagner's still following like opera conventions of the time, but it's like Wagner's orchestration with like recitative and like sort of weird conventions, or like the conventions that predated him. And it's really an opera that is very dependent on the guy playing the Dutchman, and it was supposed to be Bryn Terfel.
It wasn't
Would have
Bryn.
been amazing.
Was
the
it?
guy that they had,
Who was it?
I don't know. And they had him like, he's like the lead, and they listed him like number 5 in the program. So clearly they were excited about it. He just couldn't, he didn't have the gravitas to be like that character. And also the libretto is really problematic, and that they just keep repeating the story over and over again. Like they don't actually, nothing happens. They just tell you the myth 5 times in a row, and then
just in case you forgot,
right, and then it's over.
The chorus parts are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
actually, Flying Dutchman was my first opera at an A house. I started off in the LA Opera chorus. I actually had a really fun time doing that opera.
The chorus parts are great. I mean,
they are.
The music is really beautiful, right? Like the women's chorus, like the spinning chorus, is really great. The mezzo that they had, whose name I can't remember, and I don't know what I did with my program, she was excellent, the Mary. So like, there were parts of it that were great. I mean, the spinning chorus is great, the men's chorus, it's a really fun score. Like the music is fun, because there are moments that are actually very funny, which is not, it's not supposed to be funny, but the moment, like there are moments of levity in it, like they sort of like the choruses are like making fun of the characters and stuff like that. So there's some levity to it. But like, I mean, I knew, like, I've seen this, I hadn't seen it live before, but it was one of the assigned operas that I had to watch in grad school. So like I've seen a production before, but like without a really solid Dutchman, it just kind of doesn't. Yeah, it's just sort of like, why are we doing this opera?
Was Grigoriev acting like your embarrassing drunk uncle in the pit?
So Gergiev was mostly fine, but there was a moment where the chorus and he did not agree on a tempo, and it was a little like, whoa, what just happened? Which doesn't usually happen at the Met, like when the chorus is like, when it's like, what's happening? It was clear that he went like probably 25% faster than they had maybe practiced.
How could you tell? How could you tell from his hands? I mean,
I could tell. I could see what he was doing. Well, he was.
I can't read. Right? I can't read his tempo.
No, but I could see.
Was it his left hand or his right hand you're supposed to follow?
But like the chorus was just like, it was like the chorus was like this, like, whoa. I mean, there was already like a complicated staging moment, and then for the chorus, and they were like not together for a good, I don't know, 45 seconds, which is a lot.
A long time.
But and I definitely, when that happens, I for sure blame the conductor. Like, like it's it's the Met chorus. Like these people,
they know what they're doing. They've sung that piece before.
They might occasionally be very low energy, but they're usually correct.
So Arnold, you were in the chorus for the Dutchman in Los Angeles. Were you a chorister for a while, or?
I actually started out right after I graduated from USC in LA. Actually, during my second year of my master's program, I started at LA Opera in the chorus in 2013, and that was my first show with LA Opera. And then I went on to do some other chorus works. I was in the chorus for about 4 years, and then did various productions. And then I went over to Washington, D.C. for the Young Artist program there. And
And what did you do with Missy Mazzoli?
Oh yeah, I premiered Proving Up at Washington.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Beautiful show.
You were the son?
Yeah, I was Miles Zegner.
Did you do it in New York too, or?
Yeah.
No, but they actually did have to call me in an emergency because the tenor was unwell.
Whoa.
And so I had to sit in the audience on my tiptoes just in case.
Wow.
Those gigs
Yeah,
are
so
always
the
fun.
premiere, the official premiere was in Washington D.C. and then Omaha.
Oh, cool.
Omaha picked it up
Mhm.
and did a
Yeah.
different production with I can't remember the director's name, but
It's James Dara.
yeah, James Dara.
Yeah.
That's right, James Dara. And yeah, so it was cool to see the production, the differences between the two, and it seems like Chicago Lyric is doing it next season, and
Okay.
But it was originally written for Opera Omaha, I thought.
it was actually written for it was commissioned by the Washington National Opera,
Oh, I see. Oh, cool.
the opera American Opera Project,
Right.
AOI,
Nice.
or American Opera Initiative, AOI. That's when it was. That's how where it was commissioned, and then Opera Omaha picked it up. I think it was a joint thing, but I'm unsure.
Maybe.
And
Yeah,
Chabrelle,
I think
you,
it would be a co-commission at some
and
point.
Chabrelle, you have experience with Opera Omaha. You were in the fellowship program there.
Yeah, so I was actually
cool.
one of the pioneers of the Holland Community Opera Fellowship program that they started there. It's a full-time position for opera singers to basically be teaching artists for the company.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was a fun 2 years, and our job entailed everything. So usually without like operatic outreach, the company like maybe commissions like, a set of songs to be done with like a specific group of people, and then they do the performance, and then that relationship is over. In Opera Omaha, we actually built and cultivated relationships with different partners throughout the city, with different, that serve different populations. So I would say, we worked with homeless shelter once a month. We worked with children and adults with developmental disabilities. We worked with the elderly. We worked with, just a wide variety of people. And places where there was need for art and creativity and creative expression. So we, met with these people, we discussed things that they wanted to do, and then so like me and Jessica, like the first year that we were there, we created curriculum based off of these people's, wants or needs, and then we implemented a workshop or implemented some sort of class or series of classes with these people, and we tried to keep those relationships going because like if anybody can express themselves in any way creatively, if they know how to or not, it's helpful, and it's also a way to bring people together as well.
Wow,
So it's a
cool.
wonderful program.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
and you're a teaching artist in Houston also, right?
Yeah, I got into that after I left this program in May, so I started that in September.
So
okay, can you actually describe, so teaching artistry is a very specific thing, and I'm not sure that everybody who listens to this podcast would know exactly what that means.
Sure.
Can you describe what in your experience it means to be a teaching artist as opposed to, say, a music school teacher or just a voice teacher or something like that?
No, so I would say a teaching artist is actually more of a person that is able to help people express themselves creatively, and that they're able to facilitate someone else's creative expression. So for instance, some of the classes that we did, we would come up with different activities that maybe had that exercise or develop specific soft skills. Let's say communication was something that we wanted to work on in that class. So maybe we would plan or like choose a game to play that would force people to communicate with each other in a fun and usually creative and somewhat different way. Whereas, you have a voice teacher that's helping someone, basically build up their technique to learn how to sing and to keep that singing going. And then I haven't worked as a music school teacher, but I'm assuming they're doing a wide variety of things as well, as not only teaching students how to read music or teaching them about, pitches and everything, but also maybe teaching them songs here and there to perform for a class or like some sort of assembly.
Right.
But
elementary school band.
But a lot of what and like the teaching artistry that we did was just artistic exploration. And we used all of the skills that we have developed as artists to help bring that out in other people, whether they were professional or not, or had any experience or not.
Yeah, I think teaching artistry is really cool. So, and we haven't really talked about it much here. So,
and how much guidance does Houston give you? Do they
Well, so Houston didn't actually give me any guidance. I just I was like, hey, I did this job in Upper Omaha. I sort of know how to do it.
You're hired.
So like thus far, I've been working more in assistant roles, and like, you know, they were able to slip me into some workshops that they already had planned, and they're like, oh, we need somebody to sort of assist us here. Would you like to? I'm like, sure. So we'll see what happens in the summer, but hopefully I'll be either assisting or leading either a camp or other classes that they do in the summer, because they don't have a show in the summer season. So it's probably a lot of outreach for the company itself. So it'll probably be a pretty heavy summer, which is exciting.
That is great.
Yeah.
So Arnold, actually, you mentioned that you're a studio musician and all. So now we Eastern elites,
we don't have such a thing.
we don't know anything about this. We don't really actually know about that gig economy or even how it works. What exactly, do you have an agent? Like, how does that whole system, did people just call up and say, sing some opera?
Basically, there are a few, they call them vocal contractors. And they hear about composers needing recordings for this film, that video game, this TV show. And then they send out a work call to all the singers that they know that would fit the project. And it's usually some small group of singers, or sometimes it's a solo of some sort. Sometimes it's a rock solo, sometimes pop, sometimes opera.
Oh, wow.
I usually tend to get all the opera calls, and you know, they ask us to submit demos of the recording that just so they can hear an idea of what you might sound like. And then you get hired usually very last minute, and they usually pay you pretty well, which is nice. But you know, I get my health insurance through SAG-AFTRA. It's all union work.
Okay,
and
cool. Yeah.
It's so I have my SAG card, and one of these days I'm planning on getting more into screen acting and you know, taking advantage of that card.
So let me
you've got to get into Star Wars.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
I actually sing for Star Wars.
Get the Mandalorian.
When I looked at you, I thought Star Wars.
What is it?
So, wait, I want to know, what did you do for
to have a lightsaber?
What did you do? What did you do for Star Wars Rogue One?
I actually got to sing in the choir. So
Cool.
yeah, there was some choral music in the background that you probably can barely hear. But actually, in that movie, it is quite present. A lot of times in films and TV shows, they'll bring the choral parts down, but it creates a vocal color that, you know, a lot of people don't even know that it is there. But it actually really helps with the emotion carrying the drama forward in films and on the screen. So, and it's work that I really enjoy. You don't have to take it home with you. You arrive, you sight read some music. You record it in $1 billion historic studios in Los Angeles, and then you go home and maybe have a drink with your friends afterwards.
Nice.
Awesome.
Was that a John Williams score?
Rogue One was not. No, it was Michael Giacchino for that one. But I did get to sing for Star Wars Last Jedi, and John Williams conducted, and I got to work with him a little. That was really fun.
That's awesome.
That is
Cool.
That's badass.
It was pretty badass, I gotta say. I felt badass.
And you did something in The Lion King?
Yeah, I got to sing for a lot of tracks on The Lion King, actually.
Yeah.
In which one? In the live action, the new
Circle of Life. There's Be Prepared. Yeah, so I got to sing in the background in the choir, and then there was a few parts that I had a tenor step out that you can barely hear, but it was a very, very fun
That is
experience.
amazing.
A lot of us were like bawling after singing some of these tracks, just because I know I that was one of the first movies I saw as a kid in the movie theater. So
Right.
And it was dope.
really,
Still is dope.
It's a great
it was
movie.
really cool. Yeah, I mean,
If you can tell us the timing of exactly when you
Sing.
we can all cue it up later.
at the end of just Can't Wait to Be King, I get to sing a high note at the end of that.
Oh yeah.
Good. Okay.
Money note.
We all have nothing.
Money
So I'm
note.
gonna go find it. Watch.
So I checked out your stint on America's Got Talent with Vox.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Wait, you were on America's Got Talent, Arnold?
Yeah.
What?
Wow. That's
What?
awesome.
It's one of the many things that you get involved when you live in LA, you know.
You know what? I'm looking that up tonight.
I have a couple. I have a friend who was on America's Got Talent. I went to watch the screening. It was one of the most bizarre experiences.
It's very bizarre. It was
Very
a very
bizarre.
bizarre experience, but it was very eye-opening into that sort of industry, you know.
Sure.
And
It looked like the judges were flirting with you.
oh, you know,
They
why
were like,
wouldn't they?
"You're a boy band." Well, the interesting thing they said is, you look like a boy band, but then opera comes out.
Yeah.
Like opera singers can't look that way. You know?
I wish Heidi Klum would have flirted a little more.
But it
A little reserved.
That was like the 300th time of the day singing that piece. They had producers.
Wow.
They had producers hear it, and they said, "Oh, well, why don't you move forward here and like put your hands up here?" And they had us just sing it over and over again. I was like, man, I'm getting tired. Like I cannot sing this over and over again.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting experience. I loved it and hated it all at the same time.
And did you
Do you
guys
feel like for the sessions that you do you feel like they appreciate the craft of the opera singer, or is it more like that situation where they're just like using you to like create a sound over and over again? You know?
It's funny, like the when you're in a choral session, like maybe there's 16 to sometimes 80 of you, and so in that sort of setting, the bigger the group, the less your personal artistry matters, and the smaller the group, the more your personal artistry matters.
Oh, okay.
And I got to sing La Donna è Mobile for Family Guy, an episode of Family Guy, and
La donna immobile, qual piuma al vento, mutata cento,
Opera music makes violence classy.
And the whole entire orchestra like applauded after, and these people have played for like so many films and so many TV shows, and that was a really fun experience. And just being in the same ISO booth that Elvis was in is kind of cool. So
cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, it was just a cool experience.
But like, which episode? Now you have to
The
tell us.
episode, it's called Three Directors. It was, I forget the season. It was in a recent season, I think last season.
We're just gonna put Arnold's reel. We're just gonna put Arnold's reel at the end of this.
Yeah.
At the end of this recording, so everyone can just check it out.
It was fun. And then the other opera solos I got to do were on Tom and Jerry, an episode called Vocal Yokel.
He's doing it, Rick. He's wonderful. With that voice, he's a shoo-in for the prize money.
Amazing! Fantastic!
And I actually got to sing like Vesti la Giubba, La Donna è Mobile, even stuff from Barbara of Seville. It was really fun.
That's great. I love that.
Tell me about this Tom and Jerry. It's a new Tom and Jerry?
Yeah, they revived it. A studio called Renegade Studios, and they actually put it back on Cartoon Network. It's
They
up and
re-recorded
going
the
again.
sound, or they re?
No, they're doing new episodes now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
New animation and everything.
Yeah, I
New
saw that. My
animation.
Roku keeps trying to get me to watch it.
You should watch it.
Now I will.
I'll get like a penny.
Yeah.
Well, actually, streaming services are going to do really well during the
Yeah,
coronavirus.
yeah.
Too bad they don't pay out the artists better than they do.
Well,
Yeah.
you're going to
I mean,
get.
they do pay.
They're
You're
all
going to
in
get 3 pennies from this
renegotiations
show,
for that.
though.
Yeah. They're all in negotiate. At least SAG-AFTRA is negotiating those residual rates for streaming services, and we came to agreement recently. I still have to look into it, but hopefully they'll be treating us better in that front, because it's all going online. It's all in the cloud now, so things have to change.
And Chabrelle, I'm curious about the National Council auditions. I actually don't know anything about them, and I'm really embarrassed. I know they had the finals like last week, but so they do regionals, like what is it?
Yeah, there are districts, and that's the first level, and those are usually held in some random city, but in like the Mid-Atlantic region. So when all of the districts of a region have been done and they have all of the winners, then all of those winners from the districts move to the regionals. And then, that's either the Eastern region, the Gulf Coast region, what have you, but all regions nationally. And then those who have won the regionals then move on to the semifinals, which happen here in New York. And then after the semifinals, you have the finalists. So it's like a 4-part competition. Sort of.
Gosh. It reminds me of like All-State in high school. For professionals. Oh my God.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and each time you win some money, and then you win a little more money if you advance. And, you get more. You just get more money the higher you go.
Wow. Okay.
That's
why you're doing it. I mean, you're only in it for the money, right?
Yes, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Did you guys
Go ahead, Peter.
I was just curious. Now I'm thinking about high school. Did you guys do All-State?
I
did.
I sang in an All-State choir.
Yeah. And how about? Did you guys do theater too? Our high school theater did really well. There's competition.
I went to a performing arts.
I did. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I did All-State for like 3 years in high school, and then I got into this thing called All Northwest, which was like Oregon and Washington and I think Idaho came together and selected students from groups, and it was cool.
I'm assuming that still happens, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I did all Easterns too. I'm from Vermont, so I did like their district, and then we did all State. There was all New England. I never went to all New Englands. They did not like me at all New Englands, but I got to all Easterns, which is like the whole Eastern Seaboard. That was kind of cool. That was wild.
That's cool. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Are we the same age? We might have been in the same thing.
No, we are not.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Okay. I'm not asking your age. I'm sorry, not supposed to do that.
I want to know more about Intimate Apparel, but I also feel like maybe we should.
We'll just do another one.
Yeah.
Do we have time to ask them a little bit about it, or no?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the nice thing is actually we had Ricky Ian Gordon on, so he gave us a slight primer to it. But
cool.
Remind our listeners exactly what is it about.
Go ahead,
Intimate Apparel is about a Black American seamstress in 1905 who is very lonely, and then one day she gets a letter from a man in Panama and begins a pen pal relationship with him.
That's so sweet.
It is a sweet story.
But then there's another man in New York, right?
I mean, it's Mr. Marks, but
that's the one I'm playing.
Mr. Marks. But she has a relationships with a lot of different people. So because of her job and because she's a woman that lives alone, she has very interesting interactions with people from different walks of life. And it's just sort of this story is we're going through her journey, and when she starts, when this letter changes her life, maybe for the best or maybe for the worst, who knows?
And how is the opera different from the play in any significant way?
No, it's the same story. I think
it's the same story, just condensed.
Yeah.
Condensed. Okay. Yeah.
But like actually condensed with the text, but still very present with the music.
Yeah. Right.
So the librettist Lynn Nottage, was she a part of the rehearsal process?
Yeah, she was a part of the whole creation process for this. Like her and Ricky have been in this since 2015.
But was she like in the room? Were they modifying it all during rehearsal? Yes.
So in fact, we were implementing cuts.
Yeah.
How long did you guys work on it for?
Since January 27th.
23rd.
23rd. That's right.
Wow. Yeah.
January 23rd.
What was it like working with Lynn Nottage? Did you like working with her?
She's a very interesting person and so brilliant. So like when you come to her with a question about, and she's also very sure and confident in, her thoughts and ideas about her piece. So if you come to her with a question about something, she'll answer like, no, that's not what I thought at all.
Okay. Very straightforward.
Yeah, very straightforward, but
very protective of this work too, because she was going through difficult times in her life. She had just lost someone very close to her and her family, and so this piece is very personal for her.
Wow.
Which made the creation process, I think, as far as the rehearsal process, really touching and real and special. Yeah.
Let's put a little bit of her biography in the air here. So she's an American playwright, and she's a professor of playwriting at Columbia. She's also the first woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for drama twice. She won in 2000.
Brava, diva.
Yeah, she won 2009 for Ruined, and the second one in 2017 for Sweat. Now, if I'm correct, wasn't she also involved with like the musical about Michael Jackson?
Yes. So she wasn't actually a part of this rehearsal process. She would come in and stop in when she could, but she was also on the go. This is the musical that she was working on.
And where is this Michael Jackson thing happening?
I actually don't know. But it's
I don't know either.
now.
I don't know much about that.
Nothing's happening now.
I know.
Yeah, actually,
but it's happening here in New York, right? Or was?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask how it feels to get to the point where you're like about to open a show and then not be able to open a show. Like, how is that emotionally for you guys?
Yeah.
Well,
especially something like this.
It's disappointing, but I mean, I'm too much of an optimist to think that we're not going to open the show. We're going to open the freaking show, okay? No matter what is happening around here, we're going to do something.
We did a lot of, I know Bart, our director, is not going to let this go without a performance, an opening performance. I just know him. He's not going to do that. Yeah. And also, that final performance last week was just something I'll never forget, because the emotion, they got to film it, which we got some B-roll from it, which was really nice.
That's great.
We had some camera people that came in and filmed it all, and it was a really special performance. Especially I felt it was it's something different.
So now Bartlett Sher is also, people in New York might remember, he did that wonderful production of South Pacific that was at Lincoln Center that was really revolutionary and sort of, I think it won the Tony Award. Didn't it win the Tony Award for Best Direction of the Bible?
Yep.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was really quite moving. And he also did
My Fair Lady. Which was just
and a bunch of operas at the Met, and also he's directed.
He's pretty famous. I mean,
blah blah blah. Same old.
Yeah.
What did he? I think he did Don Giovanni. Is that? I forget exactly what. No, Romeo and Juliet. I think
he talked about Romeo and Juliet quite a bit.
Romeo and Juliet.
And he also did. People might also know him from A Light in the Piazza. He did as well.
Right. That was such a good show.
And I'm trying to think of. He is doing something next year at the Met, but I can't remember what it is. Sorry, folks.
So, do you think the story is timely for right now? Do you think there's a reason for doing it now?
Yes, So this story, even though it's about a Black American woman and her experience at this time, it is a story for everyone. There is something relatable about this woman's experience to everyone in the audience. And the same thing with Mr. Marx's character, and the same thing with George's character. Someone, no matter who they are or what they are, will be able to relate to something in this story. And I think that's why it needs to be done. And then there's also the fact that this is, I think this is a new type of opera, and the people playing in it, it's not conventional opera singers. I mean, I'm going to say, like, it's a pretty much Black cast, and I don't think a lot of people see a Black cast doing something that is, like, not just Black. I mean, obviously it's a story with Black characters, but it's not a Black story.
Got it.
So, like, it's a meaningful story that can touch everyone. So everyone needs to see it. Arnold, did you have anything to say about that?
Well, no, one of the things that I heard, actually, my brother went to see it. He's also an opera singer and a voice teacher. And he said it was a timeless production that really tells an important story. So I think, any time is the right time for this piece.
Right. So is the entire cast made up of opera singers, or are there like actors in it as well?
All opera singers.
All opera singers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Normally what we would do is ask people what they're looking forward to seeing. But instead, I'm going to ask what you're looking forward to doing with all of your copious free time. We sort of talked about this earlier, but like, what are you most looking forward to in the time that you would normally be working?
For me, it's finalizing some pieces that I've been writing with my friend, and it's kind of a mixture of hip hop, pop, and opera. That's kind of my project.
All right.
That's awesome.
Hip hop opera.
That's right.
Hip hop opera.
That's right. Hip hop pop opera.
Hip hop opera.
Other than heading back home to see my husband and my puppy boy and play all day with them, I am looking forward to getting just some leisurely writing done. I do a little role playing or RPing, and on World of Warcraft, and I have a partner on there that I write with. I used to write with daily, essentially, but with this job, it's just the schedule just hasn't been. So I'm looking forward to like picking that back up and getting our story going again. But it's just something for me. But it's going to be a nice decompress.
That's great.
Cool.
I love that.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to studying scores for the Brooklyn Music School this summer if it happens.
Nice.
Anthony Ross Costanzo is going to come and do a master class with us.
Oh, nice.
What?
Okay, cool.
I know, it's kind of cool.
Nice.
Great.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. Walker?
Yeah.
I'm just working on this NYU thing. I hope it happens. I think it's going to be fun. Six operas about climate change. They're musical theater writers who are learning how to write opera. I'm hoping it's supposed to happen in early May. So hopefully the city will be open by then.
Yay.
Yeah. Yes. Otherwise, I'm like you. I'm a big cinephile, so I just whenever I can. One of the great things about the Criterion collection is that they have like short films, like 5 minutes long.
Oh, I love that.
So even if you only have 5 minutes free,
I can catch one
on there. Yeah, you can catch one, and awesome. some good animation as well. That's like,
I love that.
Not stupid animation.
As opposed to stupid.
Yeah. Brooke, do you have anything?
Well, I'm looking forward to doing a lot more yoga than I normally do. And also getting, and then doing just regular practicing. My life, we are going to get caught up. My life is such that like I don't get to practice regularly like every day, and so I'm hoping to do that. And just get caught up on like all the things that have been hanging over my head for I don't know how long. Like now I can maybe do them.
You can do it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get cut off here.
Yes.
So we should say goodbye before we get cut off.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
It was so fun.
Thank you for having us.
This was so cool.
Let's do it again.
And we're going to put out a bunch of more shows more frequently. And seriously, write us if you want to be on the show and tell us what you might want to talk about. And we'll record a couple of extra episodes. And
of course, we have nothing else to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Peter has a very large microphone.
That's
so
it's true.
The bigger the better, right?
Maybe we'll see more of it. I don't know.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right,
yes, and be safe. Be safe. Be healthy.
Be well. Wash your hands.
Take care of yourself. Be safe. All that good stuff.
Bye.
Could you stop what you're doing and please rate our show in whatever app you're listening or watching us on? It's a free way to show your support. And if you like our show, find the Indie Opera Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iTunes and subscribe. That way, we will be automatically downloaded to your phone or other media device. If you want to help bring opera to a new generation of listeners, one great way is to go to patreon.com and become our patron. This episode of the Indie Opera Podcast was produced by Peter Szep with co-hosts Walker Lewis, Brooke Larimer, and with special guests Chabrelle Williams and Arnold Geis. Our show is created with the support of associate producer Chuck Sachs, web contributor Greg Mumji, and Rosha Korean, who created our theme music. This episode was edited by me, Peter Szep. Thank you for watching and listening.